What's going on, everyone? Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, bringing you the best damn day of Pats coverage, although it's moved back a day because there was a big event yesterday. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but I am Taylor Kyles. This is my man, Alex Barth, member of the CLNS Media family and college football savant. We're going to be getting into a lot of college football stuff today. Reminder, the show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We'll hear from them later. But first, the big reason that the best day of the week now is Thursday instead of Wednesday, just for this week, was that Jerod Mayo had his introductory press conference. Now, what were your thoughts? Because I felt like the reaction was kind of split. There were people who thought he did a great job. There were people who thought that, he and Robert Kraft maybe weren't the most convincing. I lean more, shocker, me, Mr. Optimist or whatever. I kind of lean more towards, I thought they did a good job. Kraft had a little slip up at one point that, understanding the context, it was kind of funny, but I thought they did a pretty solid job considering they really don't know what's going to happen with their staff until Belichick gets his job, and then you start seeing who stays and who goes.
Yeah, I thought he did, and I just talked about this in full with Brian Hines on Patriots Beat. You can go back and find that on the Patriots Press Pass CLNS YouTube channel. I thought there's that column out, he needs to win his press conference. As much as he could win it, I thought he won it. I think when he was hired, one of the critiques, and I understood it, it was a genuine critique, was if you're going to fire Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, it's clearly because you feel something structurally needs to change. Why would you bring in somebody that in his playing career only played for Bill, in his coaching career only coached for Bill? How different from Bill is he really going to be? Different. He made that blatantly clear yesterday. Different. That's not to say he won't take things from Bill. I don't think it's going to be a total departure, but he said he's not going to try to be Bill. That part I genuinely believe. Gerod Mayo is going to be Jerod Mayo. He's going to run his own program. He's going to run his own system. Now, will it work out? Does that actually turn into wins? We're going to find out. We were never going to get an answer to that, yes or no. We were never going to find out yesterday watching him speak to reporters whether or not he can win football games as head coach. The only way we'll find that out is playing the games. But I think as much as you could have expected, they were never going to, Robert Kraft was never, he got the final say question. Mm-hmm. He was never going to be up there and be like, oh yeah, it's Matt Grower. Oh yeah, it's Ellie Wolf. Oh yeah, we're hiring a GM. He was never, and Gerod Mayo was never going to be like, oh yeah, no, these are my offensive, defensive, special teams coordinators. Even though we haven't hired them yet, I'll tell you who they are. That was never going to happen. Mm. So for what you could realistically expect from a day like that, which I know Patriots fans aren't super familiar with those events, but they're much more PR driven, political, sell yourself to the fans, sell yourself even to those inside the building. In that regard, I thought Mayo did very well.
Absolutely. And I think also the fact that Kraft mentioned there's been a lot of criticism over, how quickly he went to Mayo, the fact that they haven't yet named a general manager. And he also dropped that they're probably going to hire a general manager relatively soon. It may be after the draft like it was reported, but it doesn't sound like they plan on going with that one. But He did mention that these are all people in the building where they're going internally, and that's just how they do business, which to a degree you have to respect. It's not like the Krafts are bad business people. They've done a pretty good job in this business for a while. But on top of that, they said, we have a lot of people who learned from, one of the greatest football minds in history. So, for all the people who defend Belichick, and, rightly so in some ways, obviously he's a tremendous coach, but the part that slipped away from him with the offense and the player personnel department things, those were areas where he was stepping over people who were learning under him but had their own perspectives. So I still get the criticisms, and I'm not trying to invalidate those, but at the very least, it will be interesting to see so many people who maybe weren't able to really be themselves or really have their work shown under Belichick finally get that chance. And we're going to get that chance pretty soon because obviously we got free agency first, but then we're going to have the draft. And Gerod Mayo had an interesting comment yesterday while speaking to, I believe it was Steve Burton, after his presser, where he said, we're going to draft the best player for a position that's very important. You put the pieces together. I know you were split on what that meant. I want your take, but for me, the body language after where he's like, I was like, okay, I don't think he was being super vague. I think it was yeah, I think everyone knows we're getting a quarterback. That's probably what we're going to do. But what were your thoughts? Maybe I'm just being a little hopeful.
Well, look, how do you not read that and see quarterback? The only thing holding me back is it's too good to be true that he's just telling us, right? I think, the way I look at it, could very important position or a position that's very important. Maybe that's just how he says premium position, which is a term we use all the time. Premium positions are in no particular order: quarterback, tackle, receiver, corner, edge rusher, right? Those are the premium positions. Those are the most expensive positions on the field. It's the hardest. Generally, it's the thinnest talent groups, although wide receivers really seen a boost the last couple of years. Maybe he means that. And maybe he just means, like, yeah, we're not, no offense, Cole Strange. We're not taking Cole Strange. Right? We're not taking post tackle. We're taking a guy that's an impact play, can make an impact in an impact position. But like, that's really the only thing I have to say it's not a quarterback, is just it's too good to be true that he would tell us it is. And it's not, obviously for us here, it's out of the norm. It's not that out of the norm for other teams. The reason,
even to joke about it, even to make the joke, I was like, what?
Other teams sometimes, if they're, so the only thing is, you don't really only do this if you're picking top 3, maybe 4, depending on the draft, because once you get to 5, you don't know what the draft looks like. Like, there may be, I think the Falcons are sitting set, and well, they're their own thing because they're going to get Bill, but maybe the Giants are sitting there at 5th saying like, oh yeah, they could tell their fans, yeah, we're going to take a wide receiver. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors both go before they get a chance. And that completely changes the picture of it. Right. So when you're picking 3rd, you have a little more freedom to do that. Sometimes teams will be like, yeah, this is the position we want to address in the draft. I think Daniels, or I think a quarterback is the way, and that's probably Daniels. Just the way the board looks right now, could end up being May, but it's not like the Patriots are just starting to scout these guys now. They've been on them really for the last year. But in the case of Daniels and May, who have multiple years as starters, I mean, they follow these guys all the way through. So they may look at it and they may know at this point, maybe they don't know which one they like best, but hey, we'd be comfortable taking either of these guys 3rd overall. And we'll figure out who that is and where the board falls, but we know we're going to have a chance at one of these guys. And there's an advantage in that, because then you look at it and say, all right, that's our quarterback. Let's go out in free agency and let's get players that fit with this quarterback skill set. In internal free agency, even, all right, this guy still makes sense in the new offense. We're keeping him. This guy doesn't. We're going to need this money to get this receiver, so this guy's got to go. Like, any good offseason, you plan around a quarterback. Problem is, when you don't know who your quarterback is, it can be very hard to do that. If you're taking Jane Daniels or Drake May, it makes it a little bit easier.
And it's important to remind people that the hay is pretty much in the barn when it comes to draft evaluations. Like, the people who are in the front office are not like us, where we're kind of catching up, watching the film, really getting an idea of what all these prospects look like. They already know the film stuff. What changes is what happens in the combine, if they go to bowl games, things like that, where there are all-star games, where they get an opportunity to maybe show some things they had questions on. Maybe if there were things where, their speed, their height, their hands, whatever it is, that's when you start making adjustments. Right. But you're rarely going to see.
Or talk to them and get to know them. Yeah, that's important too.
And interviews. Yeah. So there will be changes. There will be sliding and everything. But it's not like Gerod Mayo hasn't gotten people's feedback. And this is who we like on the board. Like, they already have a good idea. They just need more information to confirm. I do want your take on this, because we talk about it, I feel like, once a week. We do this once a week, but I feel like we talk about it pretty regularly. Could the Patriots maybe go somewhere else with the 3rd pick? Usually I kind of feel like, it's an interesting conversation, because the dynamics start to change. Like, we didn't have Caleb Williams having declared, or Marvin Harrison Jr. Last time we did this show. So it's very different. This time we do know that Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. have declared, but Dane Brugler, all right, one of the best draft people you can follow on the planet. He does a fantastic job. He recently mocked the Patriots to actually take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3rd overall, and then wait to get Bo Nix, who I've also heard from Lance Zierlein is going to be someone that he has ranked higher than a lot of people are going to think. So I need you to tell me whether there is some validity to this, or whether it's just like, all right, maybe the 3rd round of the mock draft, we're thinking a little too hard, and we're going to, get back to even as things go on, because we talked about it, like the road Knicks. Yeah, he, was able to silence some of that criticism at times this season, but I never saw anything where I was like, this guy, like, if the Pats get him, I think they'll be okay. I still think he's going to need a lot of help around him. Anybody would, but more so him than the top 3 guys. So do you think that's a real possibility that they get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Bo Nix, or do you think it's quarterback at number 3?
I mean, look, it's a possibility. Harrison's a fantastic player, but I don't think, if you get Jaden Daniels you instantly start building around him. And if he's a bust, he's a bust. You start over. Bo Nix is he's older. His floor is not nearly as high. His ceiling's not as high. You just wonder how his game is going to translate to the NFL. Like the whole idea of, all right, let's just take the NFL has gotten so good at scouting quarterbacks. And Russell Wilson in the third round won't happen anymore. Brock Purdy's an anomaly. And part of the reason you have Brock Purdy is because he's playing with the best. I mean, can I say it? The most talented offense in the NFL.
Yeah, the most well coached. Outside of like the straight drop back game, it's like, you really can't get much better.
you put Bo Nix in that offense, it's probably gonna look pretty good. You put anybody. You put JJ McCarthy. You put who are some? I'm trying to think of like the day 3 quarterbacks in this draft. Normally, I'm freaking out about those guys, but you take literally Mr. Irrelevant, the last guy you drop in that offense, it's going to look pretty good. Generally, that's not. You don't find franchise quarterbacks after the first round. I'm going to give you the day 2 quarterbacks the last few years here, Taylor. And some of these were teams literally, they needed a franchise quarterback and they said, all right, we're going to try to get our guy on day 2 and see how that works out and, address another need. So this is going back to 2019. Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond, Davis Mills, Jalen Hurts, Drew Lock, Will Grier. Those are your day 2 quarterbacks the last 5 years. I can keep going. Mason Rudolph, Deshaun Kaiser, Davis Webb, CJ Beathard, Christian Hackenberg, Cody Kessler. I'd say the last time there's a borderline starting quarterback taken on day 2 is probably Jacoby Brissett.
Our guy, who hopefully will also return to the Patriots this offseason, whether it's as a mentor, as a bridge, whatever it is. I feel like he's somebody you got to get in this room. So
best case scenario here is Jacoby Brissett. And I'm not saying like he's a very different player stylistically than Bo Nix is, but history, it would be great if they could do that. It'd be great if they could take Marvin Harrison and then go out on day 2 and still have a chance at their franchise quarterback. History tells us that's not how it works. The good quarterbacks, they're gone. They're off the board. And you say, okay, great. Then take the quarterback next year. One, you're burning a year of Marvin Harrison Jr. on an affordable contract, which sucks. And you risk him getting frustrated with the organization. The last thing you want is by the time you get good, he doesn't have the patience he wants out, which happens. You see wide receivers ask out all the time. The other thing is, then you're beholden to next year's quarterback class. And I feel like people are acting like Marvin Harrison Jr. is the last wide receiver prospect ever. Right. The last train out of the station. And if you don't get Marvin Harrison Jr., you'll never get a good wide receiver. No, there are believe it or not, there will be other receivers that are all pros in the future. Some, in fact, in this draft and in future drafts. Quarterback's not quite the same way. A down wide like last year was a pretty down wide receiver year. It's probably the weakest year for wide receivers in my time doing the draft. And you still had Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, you got Puka Nacua in the 5th round, right? Demario Douglas in the 6th. Like you did okay. Whereas you're getting, if on a down year for quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Bailey Zappi, Sam Howell, Chris Oladukin, Skylar Thompson.
Guys you do not want starting for your football team.
Right. So and Brock Purdy, but again, we kind of already discussed he's a unique situation. You hit a down year for receivers. If that's your primary need, you can still probably end up with a good wide receiver. It just means you can't necessarily wait to draft one. You wait for a down year for quarterback, enjoy Kenny Pickett. So that's where, for me, it's like you have a chance to take an elite quarterback. You better not be picking. And that's the other thing. You're picking a 3. Maybe there's a good quarterback draft next year, but it's 3 deep, and you win a couple games and you're picking at 8. Now you don't have a chance to take the quarterback. Get the quarterback now. You have the opportunity. You have the chance. You have the draft capital. You do that, and then you move on, and then you fill out the rest of it elsewhere. Because also, you can sign T. Higgins. There's no T. Higgins equivalent at the quarterback position. You can sign Mike Evans. There's no Mike Evans equivalent. If A.J. Brown's available for trade, you're not trading for an A.J. Brown equivalent quarterback. There's just more ways to add a wide receiver than there are a quarterback.
And I feel like the Patriots are kind of in their little Texans era where you kind of are hoping that the blueprint that the Texans kind of followed carries through. And look at the Texans. Their highest paid wide receiver is Robert Woods. They got great value for Noah Brown. Obviously, like not the first guy you think of for the Texans. I don't know why he's always there, but he's a solid X for them. Outside guy, runs crossers very well. Like he's a guy who gives them some juice. Nico Collins was a 3rd-round pick. Tank Dell was a 4th-round pick. And these are guys who literally are the reason the Texans have been so explosive. They haven't looked nearly as good without Tank Dell. And Nico Collins has been balling really all season, but especially since Tank went down. So I agree. You don't need to have the superstar bona fide, like he's coming on the NFL field and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like you don't need that guy, especially if you have a quarterback who raises the ceiling of the floor for the offense and allows you to maybe spend later capital on those kinds of guys and say, hey, our scouting is very good. We can take a chance on these guys. Our quarterback will bring out the best in them. Now, before we give some love to FanDuel, I want to propose something on the opposite side of the spectrum. So you're not conservative and wait late to get the quarterback. Instead, would you be willing to trade up so you can guarantee a spot or a shot at Caleb Williams? Assuming what we're going to talk about later with some other breaking news today does not happen and Williams is actually available at number 1.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how likely the Bears are to trade that pick.
Right.
It's a monumental ask. It's like what am I giving
assuming
up?
Assuming a very good free agency, also like assuming they like offensive line
assuming
is set.
they get the guys they need, like under any quarterback. I
think you probably have to give up your 1st, your 2nd, your 3rd,
in a future
like
first,
a 5th, and maybe a future 1st.
You're gonna have to
then it's going to be a bidding
first.
war. Yeah, because it's going to be a bidding war. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd entertain it. I probably ultimately, and some of this is how they feel about the quarterbacks. Like I like Drake May and Jane Daniels, so I'll sit here and say, I'd rather have, Jane Daniels in my 1st-round pick next year. But if they only like Caleb Williams and nobody else, I do think it's a fair conversation to have. I don't think it's that unrealistic to explore. Personally, I ultimately I probably wouldn't end up doing it just because of how I feel about the other 2 guys. But if you tell me, Jane Daniels scares me, Drake May scares me, then yeah, that's the move.
Yeah, agreed.
Assuming the Bears are willing to deal it.
Yeah, and we will get more into that soon. But quick word from our friends at FanDuel. Be right back.
NFL season is wrapping up, and there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, the app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, so before we get to the breaking news, we have to address the fact that Caleb Williams did declare he's going to be in the draft. What were your thoughts? What do you think was the reason he waited so late? And what was your initial impression before we get into, again, some of the more breaking news from today?
Yeah, I mean, he ran it right down to the wire, right? He took it. I think he had like 8 hours left on that clock. So it was a little sigh of relief. I was honestly starting to wonder. Good on him for giving us some drama in a week where we, certainly needed news, looking around for stuff to cover. But no, he's in, and he's the unquestioned quarterback 1. I think there was a window there where maybe you were wondering if Drake May could catch him, and that Drake May really, I think, had some flaws exposed late in the season. You go back, you look at the full body of work for Caleb Williams. You look at he was put in some bad situations by what was really not a good USC team. Yeah, he's the best quarterback in this draft. He should be the 1st overall pick.
Agreed. So that brings us to the breaking news. Kliff Kingsbury, who's currently the senior offensive analyst and quarterback coach at USC, is expected to interview for the Bears job. Now, this whole Bears coaching search has been offensive coordinator search. It's a mouthful. Has been a roller coaster. All right, we heard that Greg Roman was attached. So it's like, oh, they're committing to Justin Fields. Obviously. They're like, what, are they going to hire Greg Roman and then get one of the top 3 guys like maybe Jane Daniels? But no, probably not going to do that. They want to run the ball with Justin Fields, which is scary for Justin's development as a passer. Exciting to see him actually get to fully exploit his rushing abilities. We've seen some other names where it's kind of like, all right, are they committed? Are they not? It's kind of up in the air. But this feels like, one, if it happens, we almost are guaranteed that Caleb Williams will be the first pick off the board. And then it creates a situation where the Patriots are really just at the mercy of whatever the Commanders want to do because they're not going to trade out. just give me your thoughts on this news, because I'll tell you, man, it scared the dickens out of me, and I don't like it.
So I think what the Bears are doing, all this tells me, like, for sure, is the Bears don't know yet. The Bears don't know yet what they're going to do with Justin Fields, and that's fine. Like, it's early. My guess is they brought in Greg Roman, said, "What's your plan for Justin Fields?" Then they brought in Kliff Kingsbury and said, "What's your plan for Caleb Williams?" And that's like, Kliff Kingsbury's not going to Chicago to coach Justin Fields, and Greg Roman, you're probably not bringing in to coach Caleb Williams. So my guess is it's not OC1 or OC2. It's the package, right? Do we want to go with Greg Williams' plan and stick with Justin Fields, or do we want to go with Greg Roman's plan and stick with Justin Fields, or do we want to go with Kliff Kingsbury's plan and go with Caleb Williams? I don't know what was said in the meetings. I can't tell you. I think Greg Roman with Justin Fields is a very, very intriguing setup. But we know what kind of offensive mind Kliff Kingsbury is, and boom, he's going to have a quarterback he already has a rapport with. I've said this about the Bears' decision. It's a good problem to have, but I'm glad I don't have to make the decision, because it's a tough one. It's a real tough one.
Yeah.
I'd probably end up going, if I'm them, going to Caleb Williams, because you reset the clock on that rookie contract and you add assets by trading away Justin Fields. But that's kind of my read on this is, okay, they've heard the Justin Fields pitch. They've heard the Caleb Williams pitch. It's just going to be, which one do they like better? Which one do they believe in more?
Fingers crossed that Roman knocked it out of the park and that Kliff Kingsbury is scared of the weather in Chicago. I was born in Chicago. I lived there until I was 8 years old. They don't call it the Windy City because of the weather. It's actually because of the politics. But I tell you, when I was like 5 years old, my babysitter was like walking me home from school. I could not walk because we lived by the water and it was just blowing. And like I was like 10 minutes away from Soldier Field. Wind was knocking me down the entire time. She just had to basically pick me up and like run with me. So hopefully that scares Kliff and he's just like, nah, I think I like it better in LA.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility too. But if he goes there, it means he's open to it. So and
they're probably paying him pretty damn
well.
well,
No,
so.
he'd be probably the highest paid coordinator in football, I would think, if he takes that job, and he's going to be there for a year or two and then go be a head coach again. Like that, he's not going there again to coach Justin Fields. He's going there to run his system with the quarterback he trusts and be a head coach again in 2 or 3 years. If that could be one and done. So yeah, it's now we wait and see, and we may not know. We may not know until Justin Fields gets traded, or we may not know until the pick gets traded. But this is, I think that they're exploring all options, as they should. Like, frustrating for Patriots fans, I get it, but this is what the Bears should be doing, and they're doing it.
If you're the Falcons sitting at the 8th overall pick, do you give it up for Justin Fields?
Falcons at 8? It's not Bill's kind of quarterback, though.
It's not, but like think about his options. At 8, you're probably swinging it like a Penix. And like he's more that style of quarterback, but even then, it's like, do they trade back?
Let's be honest here. Bill's trading a third for Jimmy Garoppolo and drafting Braylon Trice or Dallas Turner. Like, he's not taking a quarterback at 8.
All right, I thought it would be fun because usually also, but here's the thing: he's not going to have general manager control. That's a big part of this too. I really don't think he will, because
this is from Ian. This is from not Ian Rappaport. This is from Florio just now talking about the meeting.
Oh.
The fact that Belichick will meet with the Falcons again implies that Blank is also ready to agree to whatever else Belichick wants, such as potentially Belichick's own personnel department and no interference whatsoever from CEO Rich McKay. Bill's not going somewhere he doesn't have final say.
Don't they already have a general manager?
It's Terry Fontenot. He is very good. He is going to be at this meeting, which adds a layer to it.
Right, that's why I
wonder if Bill makes Terry Fontenot his Matt Crow, which basically says, do all the legwork, present me with the options, and I'll make the decision. I think that's kind of what this is setting up for.
Is that even an ideal situation, though? Because it's like, yeah, you get to work and like learn under Bill Belichick, but also you're getting a demotion for like 3 years.
It's not up to him.
That's what I'd say.
If you're him, if I'm him, I look at it one of two ways. All right, fine, I'm out of here. I'm not going to get bossed around by Bill Belichick. Or, all right, I'll hang out, cash into my ring, learn a thing or two, and it's my team again in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. That's an interesting situation. Man, but Justin Fields in that offense, I just want them to get an athletic quarterback who's like fun to watch and also can just lean on the insane artillery.
You'll get Jimmy Garoppolo and you'll like it.
I won't like it.
No, that was me. That was me when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo in whatever it was, 2013. Oh, he's the next guy. Never saw it. Never, ever saw it.
I thought he was intriguing. Like, I like that they opened the playbook up a little. Really, it was just the Shanahan playbook. Now we kind of, I remember looking back on it. I was like watching Jimmy back in 2016 or whatever. And I was like, literally, they were running Shanahan stuff that you never saw from them, like the bootlegs, all the slide stuff. I'm like, where is this with Tom? They were doing the same stuff. And now they tried to do it with Patricia and it didn't work. I'm going to get myself flustered. All right. This is a bit of a shorter show because, we hit the breaking news. There wasn't a ton of it, no bowl games or anything. We'll come up with something a little longer. I was trying to use a good word for what I was girthier. I'm just going to say girthier for the next show. I couldn't find a good word. I just, you know what? Why not?
We'll have good stuff next week. We got some real stuff to dig into next week.
But this is some real good stuff. Because how the hell do you get 9 years of eligibility? One of the children, this is a grown man. Please explain this because what the hell is going on?
So Cam McCormick, aka my personal hero, announced today he will be reapplying for his 9th year of eligibility in college. He called it his last ride. He's been in college since I was in college. So he was actually, no, he hasn't been. That makes me feel a little bit. He's at the U now. He started at Oregon. He was in the same recruiting class as Justin Herbert. Think about that. But he had,
he's on his second contract.
he's been in college football longer than a lot of guys have been in the NFL. And he's only caught like 8 passes or something.
What does he do?
So he's
what do you do? Does he have a job? Does he just
no?
Do this
He's
for
on
fun?
his. So he has his bachelor's. He has his master's, and now it's not a PhD. I forget. Somebody found his LinkedIn. He's on some third kind of degree at the U. Yeah, he's caught 26 passes in all. So he hasn't played all 8 years. So he redshirted as a freshman. He had 2 more medical red shirts. He sat out the COVID year. So that's 4 years right there that essentially don't count. And then he gets the extra year back because of the COVID stuff. So this is somebody who took advantage of all the little loopholes in the NCAA. He's a true. You ever see the movie Van Wilder?
Yeah,
it's Van Wilder basically, but playing football. I want this man to be a Patriot. I need this man to be a Patriot. Not necessarily even because, could the Patriots use a tight end? Yes, I just want to talk to him.
Yeah, honestly, what were you doing all that time, man? Were you just living way off campus? Were you just avoiding eye contact with all the 18-year-olds? What are you doing?
I saw somebody quote tweet it and was like, just join the workforce. He's the reason he's the reason our economy's in such bad shape.
He's still younger than me. He's 25.
He's 25.
That's
okay.
still pretty young.
He's older than Lamar.
Oh my God. Lamar is such an immensely accomplished human being. Oh my God.
Okay, did Lamar play 9 seasons of college football? Winning an NFL
that is true.
MVP is one thing, but as somebody who graduated college a semester early, figuring out a way to stay there for 5 extra years, give the man a Nobel Peace Prize. I just brought it up to you because, again, this is the kind of thing where, if you're wondering if you should get into college football or not, get interested in it. There's just goofy stuff like this. It just makes it. This guy is going to be must watch this year, and he's going to get a big NIL deal, and everybody's going to be following him. It's just a fun, goofy story.
That's what I was going to say. Has he had NIL deals in the past? Has he at least been cashing in on this, or what's good?
I don't know if he's ever had individual. I know he's been part of collectives, but this year now, the 9th year, he might get last ride. He might get a tire dealership, a car dealership.
Oh my God!
Right, Cam McCormick's last ride brought to you by. No, you should get 30 for 30.
Oh, honestly, he should. This is fascinating.
I'll say this too. Like I said, this isn't just he just wants to keep hanging out in college. I mean, he has. I know one of them is a torn ACL. He had another significant injury too. This guy loves football.
I guess. How many surgeries has he had? Isn't it how many season-ending injuries was it? It said somewhere.
I think it's 3, right? It's 3 or 4. And he keeps coming back. He keeps coming, and it's not as simple as, oh, I want to stay in college. Like, you're asking a lot from that because you got to put your body through a ton to come back from these injuries. And so, in that sense, I respect it. I honestly hope he kind of gets into coaching because this is somebody who seems like they have the makeup of a coach.
Also, someone who needs to stay the hell off an NFL field and just let his body recover. So we're talking about multiple season-ending injuries before he's 25 years old. He's been playing football I'm assuming he's a blocker or like a special teamer. So it's not like he's not getting hit. I'm looking it up. There was some medical term that I've never even seen before that it said he had to deal with in terms of injuries. So he missed 3 of those years due to an ankle injury, tore his Achilles in 2021, and was hospitalized with rhabdomyolysis.
I don't know. I didn't go to college for 9 years. That's why he stayed.
Barely went to college. The destruction of striated muscle cells. Oh, yeah, man. Retire. Hang it up. It's time to go. It was a nice run this year. It needs to be it. Get into coaching, get into insurance, whatever you got to do. Keep your body
I'm enjoying the last ride. No, again, he should get into coaching. He clearly loves football, doesn't mind the grind, and we know he can relate to people younger than him. So
for now, he's not too far away from being the old head.
Bring him in on a coaching internship. Oh yeah, you can still give him an internship. He's 25, he's in college. You can still give him an internship. I don't know. It's a fun story. I'll be rooting for him this year, and hopefully, I don't think he'll be drafted. Hopefully, he at least declares for the draft next year, so we can get to talk about him in the pre-draft process.
If he's Mr. Irrelevant, oh my God. Like, then you have to give him a 30 for 30 or something.
Awesome.
He needs it.
Do not tempt me with a good time, Taylor.
Oh,
Here's how long he's been in college. I'm just realizing this. He started a year after they stopped making the NCAA football game, and he will be in the revival. He is almost old enough to have been in both games.
We need a list. We need a list of just insane perspective on when he got into college and when he left.
What were you doing 9 years ago? 9 years ago when he started college, so that would have been fall of 2016. I was a year out of college, and I just finished up working as the voice of UMass Lowell men's and women's lacrosse.
Nice.
I was living with my parents. And in the time that it took him to go through college, I've gotten here. You can say that. Now, whether or not that's impressive, I think people would have different viewpoints. But I mean, that was like 4 cars ago for me.
I think I was junior in college, I think. No, I graduated in 2019. Oh my God. I think I was a pledge. It was my second year of college. That's crazy. This man was getting his career started while I was getting, you don't say
you were both. You were both just getting started in college.
Yeah, pretty much. That is absolutely wild. All right. Well, best of luck to him. We will be following this story. If there are any updates whatsoever, I promise you will get them from us. Alex, I think that's a great place to close out today. Let the people know what you got coming down the pipeline. They already know where to follow you. Just give them the goods.
Yeah, new Catch 22 this morning with Evan Lazar, and we'll start getting into some quarterback breakdowns next week on 98.5thesportshub.com.
Phenomenal. All right. Thank you, buddy. Thank you all for watching. Sorry we had to move it back a day, but Wednesday is once again the best damn day of the week from here on out. And I will also try to give you heads up in case anything changes in the future. But for now, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.